Well, the war is taking a devastating toll on Palestinian women and children in Gaza. More than 50,000 women in Gaza are pregnant. 5,500 of them are expected to give birth this month, but it's unclear how they can reach hospitals through a war zone and can get the care they need. These women are facing life-threatening challenges as a result of Israel's unrelenting bombardment of Gaza. Some women are reportedly being forced to have C-section deliveries in the dark and without anaesthesia. Others have suffered miscarriages triggered by the trauma of trying to survive Israel's war. Hospitals are on the brink of collapse, and thousands of expectant mothers don't know how or where they will give birth. Let's speak to Laila Baker about this. She's the Arab States Regional Director at the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, and she's joining us from Cairo, Egypt. Laila, thank you very much for being with us. So even as the war goes on, as the war rages, children are still being born in Gaza. What has it been like for pregnant women and young mothers in the midst of this conflict?
Well, I think you summed it up really well in your first statement. The continuous bombardment, the collapse of the healthcare system, the insecurity and lack of safety, even for the hospital personnel and medical personnel who still remain available, are being overwhelmed by the number of casualties. For a woman who's pregnant, and there are 5,500 estimated right now in Gaza, most of them now displaced in the south, they're facing an untenable choice. Risk whatever delivery comes in the place where they reside and risk bombardment, or try to make it to one of the reasonably functioning health facilities where it is overcrowded, unhygienic, and where if they require a C-section, the anecdotal evidence coming in right now has been that many of those have been without an anesthesia, and where women have to walk home, including downstairs, and also face unsafe conditions as they return to the overcrowded shelters. I can't imagine, as a woman myself, being faced with that kind of choice, where you're trying to bring life into in this world, bring joy, a new family member, and yet you're traumatized, you're fearful for yourself, for your child. And this is why we are requesting unconditionally that there be protection and access for women and their safety ensured as they get to the hospitals, that the hospitals are not a target of any bombardment, and that all of the healthcare professionals who are in Gaza remain protected from any kind of hostility or aggression. In the last 3.5 weeks, none of that has been secured.
Indeed, and it is pregnant women, of course, and you've described there's some very difficult conditions that they have to go through, no prematernal health care and very complicated deliveries. But it's also young girls, right, who are facing trauma and are having to deal with, many health issues as well. What do they need most in the midst of this humanitarian catastrophe?
Right now at UNFPA, we are very concerned for what is over half the population, women and girls, pregnant women, adolescent girls who get their period, who are in overcrowded, what they call shelters, but are actually any place that is a school, a friend's house, that still remains unsafe. They need water, they need protection, they need to be able to have hygiene for themselves. And for us, it's very important. Can you imagine being an adolescent girl in the midst of all of this, where she is trying in a very crowded shelter to access a toilet for a shower or a change of clothing, or if she has her period, where there is no sanitation, no sanitary and hygiene products. And so UNFPA is very focused on ensuring that we get the medications, the supplies, and the hygiene products to the people most in need, and those are the women and girls.
But how are you able to get these supplies
water
in right now when the war is still going on? And when we're seeing, even in the last few minutes, UN vehicles being targeted, how can you get these supplies to these young girls who need them?
It is very dangerous for us at the moment, and there has only been a trickle of supplies, which is why access and protection are the two main concerns for us. We do have supplies pre-positioned. We have been requesting for over 3 weeks to be able to move those supplies in regular and consistent, safe modality to the people in need, and to call for the cessation of the bombardment so that we can deliver those. In the meantime, we have, through our partners in Gaza, been able to get a small amount of those to the women in need in some of the places in Gaza. We continue to rely on the partners, the local market, and the goodwill of everyone who wants to see the protection of that civilian population to be able to deliver to the best of our abilities. But it is very far from what we require.
Indeed. Laila, thank you so much for painting that picture for us of what women and adolescent girls in Gaza are going through right now. Laila Baker is with the United Nations Population Fund, joining us there from Cairo.